Dear friends in Jesus Christ, today we are in the 28th Sunday of Year C. The Gospel of today is taken from St. Luke chapter 17 and verses from 11 to 19. It speaks about the healing of the 10 lepers. The Gospel begins with the words, "As Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee." A Jew would avoid going through Samaria and a Samaritan would avoid going through Galilee. But Jesus embraces both. Jews hated Samaritans because they mixed their life, culture, and worship with Gentiles. Thus, there was an enmity and division between them. Jesus walks through both the cities. He wants to be a connecting factor that promotes peace and unity. It is a courageous act because most of the time both of them will disown you and you will be alone. Today, the world is divided into the ideologies of left and right. They are divided on economically, socially, and religiously. At times, we like it or not, we are also identified and polarized. In this context, Jesus gives an example to be a connecting factor and to be an unifying factor. Then we see 10 lepers stood at distance and asking Jesus to have mercy on them. It is to be noted that later Luke says that one of them was a Samaritan. We do not know how many Jews and how many Samaritans were there. At least we know one of them was a Samaritan. We must be wondering that Jews and Samaritans had enmity among them, and how come we see here both together? A common suffering broken down their barriers. A common need brought them together. Here we must also note how the disease of leprosy was viewed at the time of Jesus. Any disease and disability were considered as a result of sin. They were signs of punishment of God. And leprosy was most feared and dreaded disease in ancient times. They were sent out of the society. Even those suspected of having leprosy were forced to leave their families and homes. It was to protect the rest of the society from contamination. They had to cry out in loud voice to warn others from far, "Leper, leper," as a precaution for others not to come closer to them. They were fully excluded from the temple and could not participate in any liturgy and cannot offer any sacrifice. Thus, this social stigma and forced isolation were as painful as the physical disease itself. All these pain and suffering not only brought them together but also brought them to Jesus and pray, "Lord, have mercy on us." They ask for pity, they ask for mercy. The Greek word used here is eleison. The same word is also used for forgiveness. We use this phrase in the penitential rite of the Eucharist, Kyrie eleison. It was remarkable that Jesus told them to go to the priests and show themselves while they were still lepers, because priests had right to testify and certify the healing. Even though they were still lepers, they obeyed Jesus. They obeyed the command of Jesus. So in faith they went, and we read in the gospel, as they were going, they were cleansed. We read the same thing in the first reading. Naaman, the army general of Syria, had a skin disease. When he came to Elisha for healing, Elisha told him to bathe 7 times in the Jordan River. Naaman did not question it or doubt it. In faith and in obedience, he bathed 7 times and got cured. Yes, the one condition of healing was obedience. Obedience is an expression of faith, and faith brings healing. When they were healed, one of them, the Samaritan, came and fell at the feet of Jesus and thanked him. Falling on his face before Jesus is a sign of adoration. The word Euchariston is used for giving thanks here. So, if we understand the pattern of this narration of this healing, we shall know the lesson that Jesus is teaching us. First, Jesus walks through the division. Second, lepers, overcoming their barriers, come together. Third, lepers ask for mercy. Fourth, Jesus commands them to show themselves to priests. Fifth, in obedience, the lepers go. Sixth, while on their way, the lepers were healed. Seventh, one of them, the Samaritan, comes back and gives thanks, gives Euchariston. Dear friends, in Jesus Christ, let us reflect. How do we express our obedience to God today? How much are we gratitude? How often we break the barriers to come together like the lepers? What effort do we take to walk through the Galilee and Samaria like Jesus to become an unifying factor? God bless you all. Amen.